everyone, it's Haley, and today I'm going to be filming my May wrap-up for you all. So May was my first month of summer, so I had a lot of reading to catch up on, and I ended up reading a total of 15 books, and, well, 2 trilogies all the way through. So yeah, I'm just going to get started. So some of the books that I read in May, I don't actually have on me because a couple of them were library books, and one I borrowed from a friend, and then one I lent out to a friend. So the first book that I borrowed from a friend is Matched by Ali Condi, and I gave this book, I think it was 1 star on Goodreads. I hated it. I didn't think that anything happened at all with the story. I mean, the author introduced the plot, but she didn't really do anything with it. Like, it just kind of dragged on, and to me it all felt like just an introduction. So I don't think I'll be continuing on with that series because I really did not enjoy it at all. The next book I read I actually lent out to my friends, so I only have The Dust Jacket, and that's Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. So this book is an awesome summer contemporary. I think I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. It's one of my favorite contemporaries. I did really like it. So in this book, it's summertime, and the main character, Emily, her best friend, Sloane, kind of just disappears. And Emily's always been really like shy and kind of reserved, and Sloane's really like out there and outgoing. So Sloane disappears, and she leaves Emily a list of things that she wants her to do during the summer. And you don't really know where Sloane is gone. I think this novel is great for the character development because you really get to see the changes that Emily goes through from the beginning of the book to the end of the book. She's a completely different person, and she definitely changes for the better, so I really enjoyed this. So next I read the Selection Trilogy by Kiera Cass, and I read the Selection and the Elite from the library, and then the one came out this month, so I went and bought it and I read it, and the cover is beautiful. Such a nice cover, and I really loved this trilogy. I don't know why, but Maxon just, whoof, love him. Even though America is probably the most frustrating main character, I still loved it. So the Selection Trilogy takes place in a dystopian world where America and Canada have combined to make one country called Ilia, and they live by the caste system. So you're born into your caste, and that determines how much money you make, the job that you'll have, etc. So everyone who is eligible for marriage from I think it's 16 to something, I don't know, they are offered a chance, like the girls, they're offered a chance to be in the selection competition. I don't know if you call it a competition, but whatever. And it's basically like The Bachelor, where their prince, Maxon, he's trying to find a bride. So the main character is offered a chance, and it just kind of goes from there. So yes, so I really enjoyed this series. I would definitely recommend it. I love Maxon, and I really hate Aspen. There were a few times when I hoped he would die, which I'm really sorry. That is terrible to say. But yes, so I plan on getting the novellas as well, and I'll probably read those soon. But I did really love this series, even though I hated the protagonist. I think I just loved it because of Maxon, but I definitely recommend it. It was a really fun read, and I think I read them all in 3 days. It took me 1 day each. I don't know. I have no life. It's fine. Next I read Love Letters to the Dead by Ava DeLera, and this book I have seen so much of on BookTube, so I decided to pick it up, and I really did enjoy it. So the main character, Laurel, gets an assignment in her English class to write a letter to someone who has died. So she ends up she never hands in the assignment. She just ends up she just keeps on writing letters to people who have died. She writes to Kurt Cobain, Amelia Earhart, Amy Winehouse. Who is the other one? Why can't I think of it? Heath Ledger, Janis Joplin, River Phoenix. Yeah, she writes to a bunch of people who have died, and she just kind of finds out about herself. This novel, I did really like it, but it did remind me a lot of Percy Being a Wallflower. And I think that is mostly because The author did write it under the mentorship of Stephen Chbosky, the author of Perks of Being a Wallflower, but I just thought it was very, very similar to that, and I don't know, like, just everything about it was very similar to it. Although I did still enjoy it, I just thought the similarities were, like, it was too similar. I couldn't stop, like, comparing it to Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I think that's what kind of ruined the reading experience for me. But I did give this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, so I did enjoy it. Next, I read the infamous Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. This book, I feel like everyone has been reading lately. It's just been all over BookTube, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it a lot. It's a really fun kind of like paranormal read, but Rachel Hawkins' writing style makes it kind of quirky. And I believe this is going to be the first in the series, so I'll probably continue that series. I don't know, I haven't really decided yet. So what happens in this book is the main character, Harper, she's like the typical Southern belle, and she goes to the homecoming dance, and then she ends up, like, her history teacher comes in, like, bleeding. He's been, like, stabbed, and then just, I can't really tell you much about it, but stuff just ends up going down, and there's this whole paranormal aspect to it, and yeah, it's just really cool, and it was really just a fun read. So the next book I read in May is What's Left of Me by, not Kira Cass, that's the selection, Kat Zhang, and this book is kind of similar to The Host. The overall, like, the general concept is pretty similar. So everyone in this world is born with 2 souls in their body, and eventually one of them is supposed to be the recessive soul, and it will eventually fade away. So that's what's supposed to happen with the main characters, Ava and Addie. But Ava doesn't fade away, but she does lose control of, like, movements and everything. So all she can do is talk to Addie in, like, her head. So they're eventually caught. This isn't giving anything away either. It's all in the synopsis. And they're declared as, like, hybrid, and they're brought to this facility for hybrids where they're trying to get rid of the recessive soul. So it's just kind of about what happens in that facility, and what will happen to Ava and Addie. It kept me on my toes, because you never really, like, know what's gonna happen, or, like, if they're gonna be caught, if, like, Ava's gonna, like, fade away. Like, you never really know what's gonna happen. So I did really enjoy this book. I think I gave it, like, 4 stars, but, like, more so, like, 3.5 out of 5, because the writing, like, wasn't my favorite, but I did really like the story. And that book is the first in the Hybrid Chronicles, and I did order the second, so I am going to continue with that series. So the next book I read, I actually finished yesterday, and that is Fire and Flood by Victoria Scott. This book, I had been really looking forward to it. I just thought, like, I'd heard it was a mix between kind of Hunger Games and Pokemon, so I thought that sounded very cool. And I do have some beef about this book. I was on Goodreads, and I was looking at the ratings, and there's a lot of, like, 1 and 2 star ratings, and that's because people are like, oh, it's a Hunger Games. I would just like to clarify, because a book has a competition where there can only be 1 winner does not make it the Hunger Games. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't, okay? That's the only similarities. Like, and, like, it's about, like, survival and stuff, but that does not make it the Hunger Games. Sorry, but it doesn't. Probably hate me for that, but it doesn't. So anyways, so what happens in this book is there's something called the Brimstone Bleed, which is a race that anyone from any age group can gets the opportunity to enter if they have a loved one who is sick, and the prize for winning this race is the cure for whatever ailment your loved one is suffering. So this race takes place in, I think it's 4 ecosystems. So there's desert, sea, mountains, and jungle. As well as Tella Holloway in her journey through the race. Her brother is sick. She needs the cure for him. And everyone gets a Pandora to accompany them, in the race, which Pandoras are, they come in little eggs and they're little animals and they're adorable. And my only thing with this was when the animals were hurt, I couldn't read it. I kind of like, I would skim when the animals were hurt just because I can't deal with that stuff. So I just kind of, there was a part with one of the characters, Titus, that I had to skim over. And if you've read this, you know what part I'm talking about. I had to just skim over because it was heartbreaking. I was like crying. I couldn't do it. But other than that, I did really enjoy this book. Although I felt the beginning was pretty rushed, I liked it other than that, and I think I will continue with the series. She's writing the second one now, Salt and Stone. So yeah, I'll probably continue with the series. I did like this. I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Next, at the very beginning of the month, I read Unwind by Neil Shusterman. This book I gave 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads as well. And I read this mostly because I love the concept of it. I just think it's so inventive and it's really creepy and it just really kind of just makes you think, and it's just like, pardon me, what? That is really creepy. But I did really like this book. My only problem with it is I felt that it was lacking in the character development department. I didn't really get to know the characters that much. I don't know. I just, meh. So this book takes place in America after the Second Civil War has been fought. And that Civil War was between the pro-life and pro-choice armies. And they came to a compromise which led to the creation of the, I forget what it's called, it has a name, but this document that says once they turn 13, you can, up until they're 18, you can decide that you want your child to be unwound, which means that they would be taken apart piece by piece, and all of their like organs and like limbs and every part of them would be used in a different person who may have been like hurt or something. And it is really cool. It is a really cool concept, and I definitely would recommend this. It's really creepy and just super cool. And like the argument why they decide to unwind instead of like abort is because they're saying that that the person will technically still be living on, just not in their own body. They'll be living in someone else's body. So weird, like so creepy. I don't know. But yeah, I did really enjoy this book. It was just the characters. I couldn't really connect to any of them. I didn't feel like I was given a lot of like personality from them. But other than that, it was a good book. Next, I read Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page. And I know there's a bunch of drama surrounding this book, but I don't even want to talk about this. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, and it's also on my favorites because I loved it. I can't wait for the show to come out on CW, and I cannot wait for the second book to come out. This is the first in the trilogy. So the main character, Amy Gum, gets taken away in a tornado and she ends up in Oz. But Oz is completely different. It's all dark, and Dorothy has returned, but she is not the Dorothy that we all know and love. She is like a creepy, like just terrible villain that I just love, but I also hate at the same time. So it is her mission, it is Amy Gum's mission to kill Dorothy. I did very much love this book. It was well written. Oz was just creepy, and I loved Dorothy as a villain. So good. I loved it, and I definitely recommend it. Also this month, I read the entire Me Trilogy by Tahara Mafi, and I read this in like 5 days or something. But I absolutely loved it. These are definitely some of my favorite books now. They were so good, and they have such beautiful covers. So first I read Shatter Me, obviously, and then Unravel Me and Ignite Me, which has my favorite cover. So I can't tell you about Ignite Me and Unravel Me, obviously, because they're sequels, but they were really good. I think Ignite Me is my second favorite, and then Unravel Me is my least favorite, but it was still good. I did still enjoy it, but it just was not one of my favorites out of the series. So, Shatter Me, first book I can tell you about. So, what happens is the main character, Juliet, which I absolutely love that name, and I think that's what I'm going to name my child. I love that name. I do not know why. I've never noticed how much I love it before. It's so pretty. Anyways, sorry. So yes, Juliet. She has a lethal touch, so she can't touch anyone, and she's been in this, she's been in like confinement in an asylum for 264 days because her touch is fatal. And the reestablishment decides that they have plans for her, so they come to get her, take her out of the asylum, and they want to use her touch as a weapon. Obviously that's not something that she wants to do, and it just kind of goes off of that. And there's also a love story in it, which is very good, although I decided I don't. Yeah, I'm not even gonna say anymore. I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. I'm still not over that this is done. I just want more. I want to read it all the time, forever and ever. Okay, I'm sorry. A little bit embarrassing, it's fine. And then finally, I read Cinder by Marissa Meyer this month. And I also have Scarlet, but I plan on reading that in the month of June. And I loved Cinder. So this is about, it's a fairy tale retelling of Cinderella, where Cinderella's a cyborg. And it's like a sci-fi retelling. So there's like people on the moon, and like stuff happens with them. And it is a very, very cool book. I loved this book. It was really good. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I definitely recommend it to anyone looking for kind of like a fairy tale retelling. It's a really cool book, and I cannot wait to read Scarlet. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my June TBR. Bye! No, that was more embarrassing. How do you say bye? Au revoir, mes amis. Goodbye, homemade cheese. Absolutely.